What's up, guys? This is Tomcat from TC9700 Gaming, and welcome to part 2 of my circuit spotlight for Fujimi Kaido. In this episode, we're going to be covering the downhill section, and you can just see right off the bat, we're just going to dive into these corners because the corners on the downhill are, most of them at least, are a lot wider than the corners on the uphill. So you can definitely take a lot more of a risk on the downhill as far as plunging into corners, and it's actually a lot easier to just plunge your car into corners because you've got all the gravity pushing your car down the mountain. And also, if you guys haven't seen my coverage of the uphill section of Fujimi Kaido, you can go down and click on the link in the description, and that'll take you right to that video. Now, a lot of people have trouble with this section right here, and I sometimes have trouble with it too. It's definitely a difficult section because you have to reduce your speed dramatically in order to drift it properly. And no, I do not hit the wall right there. I come very close, but I don't hit it, which is great for me. But you can see just pulling very long drifts on these downhill sections. Because, again, you've got to let the gravity push your car down the mountain. Sometimes you do have to clutch kick the car, but it very rarely. Now, this tunnel is tricky because there's a small bump right before you enter it, and that can throw off your rhythm a lot. And this spot is a little tricky too because you're coming in to the corner at a certain angle and then changing out of that angle as you're going down a hill and through a tunnel. So the road gets a lot smaller, a lot skinnier. So it's definitely a section to watch for. Now, this corner you have to reduce your speed dramatically again to do it. But if you do it right, you will be able to pull out massive point combos in that section. Now you can see the road widens here again. We're just going to plunge the car into the corner, and that's what you really want to work on when you're drifting the downhill. Is just really plunge your car into the corner, but make sure you don't spin out too early. Well, not spin out too early. Make sure you don't spin out at all. These hairpins are a lot easier than the hairpins on the uphill, again because they're wider. But what you really want to do is you really want to stretch these drifts out as long as you possibly can, because you have a lot more room to do it. Now, this coming section right here is also a bit tricky. Because you're coming in with a lot of speed from out of those hairpins because they plunge you out of the hairpins, and then that corner is strangely tight. It looks wide, but it's really tight, and it's easy to hit the walls. And just on these corners, just drift long and wide. As you can see me doing here, it's relatively simple if you've already done the other corners. To get these long drifts. Now, watch this transition right here. See how I prolong the drift as long as possible and then swing the tail end of the car around while maintaining speed? That's the kind of transition you want to go for. That's what you want to practice. Now, you can see right here, I do screw up. This was not an entirely clean run, but I do regain control of my car very quickly off of that strange 360 wall bump, if that even means anything. And you'll definitely want to try and drift the whole tunnel. The tunnel, a lot of people have trouble with the tunnel because it really plunges you into the tunnel at high speed, and you're not ready for the fact that the roadway gets a lot skinnier. Again, just handling these corners the same way you handled the other corners on the top of the mountain. Very wide, very easy to pull a lot of angle, and you really just want to prolong the drift as long as you possibly can, which requires speed, and the more speed your car is carrying, the more control you have to have. Otherwise, you will either spin out and lose your points, or hit a wall and lose your points. So what it really comes down to is combining speed with control on the downhill. The downhill is all about control, whereas the uphill has a lot to do with power drifting. The downhill has a lot to do with inertial drifting. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, And if you did, please leave me a like and a comment and subscribe.